OCA. Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Before you do anything, just look out the window. Or if you're fortunate enough to be outside, well, good for you. Look at that beautiful day we've got today, right?
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And we were talking about this morning, that I don't know the rest of the country, but here in Central Florida, the springtime has been, oh my gosh, there's nothing to complain about this springtime, right? It's just been a beautiful spring. The one thing I can complain about, though, is my own fault. I haven't been out in it enough.
Yeah.
I haven't been out in it enough. You know what we have here? We have rivers. We have numerous places that rent canoes, rent kayaks, rent bicycles.
Saturday.
Right? You can just walk.
Good water
we got
day.
so many walking trails. We got a beautiful, my gosh, we got probably more beaches here in Florida than probably any other state, right?
Yeah, right.
The whole coast, I think, is a beach. Richard Louv is on the phone. I may be mispronouncing his name. He's going to correct me in just a moment. He wrote a book that helps remind us that we need to get out into nature. He called it, very clever, by the way, Vitamin N, the essential guide to a nature-rich life. Richard Louv is a journalist, the co-founder of the Children and Nature Network. He's the keynote speaker at the first White House Summit on Environmental Education. He's the recipient of the Audubon Medal. And by the way, today is National Audubon Day.
That's right. Congratulations.
So let's say good morning to Richard. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm fine, and you pronounced it just right.
Oh,
Thank
excellent, excellent. Where are you calling from?
you. San Diego.
San Diego. That's another beautiful place.
Wow.
That is a beautiful place. How's the weather there today?
Probably similar to your weather.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you know what? We get caught up in our work. We get caught up in our gadgets. You know, we have our faces looking. We go outside on a bright sunny day, and we say, "Oh man, I can't see my screen." Don't look at your screen.
That's right.
Right? The sun is too bright. I can't see my screen on my phone.
Leave it home.
We'll put it away. You know, there's so much beautiful stuff out there. Is this something? Is this the philosophy you've had all your life?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up outside of Kansas City and spent a lot of time in the woods with my dog. And my parents didn't know where I was a lot of the time, but my dog did. And so it was very much a part of my life. And that kind of freedom, not very many kids have anymore. And so, in order for kids to have a connection to nature, ironically, for them to have a kind of an unorganized experience in nature, we're probably going to have to organize a lot of it. We can't just dwell on nostalgia. We have to have new ways to connect to nature, which is partly what Vitamin N is about.
That is so true. You know, I'm so glad that when my son was younger, that we went on camping trips. You know, I mean, the truth was the reason we went on camping trips instead of motel road trips is because camping trip was cheaper. Mm-hmm. But actually thinking back on it now, that was the best thing we could have done. I can't tell you how many hikes we took, you know, not mountains like Mount Everest, but, you know, small things like in the not the Rockies, but the Smoky Mountains, you know, little things like that. The subtitle of the book, The 500 Ways to Enrich the Health and Happiness of Your Family and Community. So give us some ideas on what we might be able to do, even if we do live in an urban area. I mean, New York's got a beautiful park. Oh, they've got lots of beautiful parks, but the famous one, Central Park, right?
That's right. And people don't know this, but Frederick Olmsted was asked to design that park at the turn of the last century, not because it'd make it a pretty view, but because the industrialists of New York wanted more productive workers. And they knew if their workers got outside more, they'd be more productive. Now, they didn't have a stack of studies to prove that. Now we do. Now we have a lot of theory. It's called the Biophilia Hypothesis. There are biophilic architects now working to design buildings with nature in them and around them. And the studies show that people who work in them are more productive. Sick time goes down, turnover gets better. The same is true of schools, by the way, that incorporate nature. The test scores go up. Standardized test scores go up when kids spend more time outdoors. Right?
Oh, wow.
And isn't that a shame that we have to have studies that seem to replace the common sense of people? Because people as individuals have this common sense. but nothing can get accomplished unless a study is done.
Right.
Well, that's true. And unfortunately, though, we've studied everything else. We have all kinds of statistics on everything else. But this topic was basically ignored by academics for a long time, by scientists. And one reason is that they have a hard time defining nature. And I understand that. There's no accident we've left the definition of nature up to the poets. But now that those studies are coming forward, there's over 300 of them now about the benefits of nature. Everything from reducing myopia, nearsightedness, to attention deficit disorder, kids who spend more time outdoors in nature, and adults. The symptoms go down of attention deficit disorder. You get more out of your physical exercise if you do it outdoors. On and on. These benefits are very clear now, which is one of the reasons I called this book Vitamin N, because this is a way to enrich your life, to make it better.
So when we purposefully schedule an outing like you suggested, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. They always say you plan your 2-week vacation more than you plan the other 50 weeks of the year. But it sounds like what you're saying is don't just do it for 2 weeks. Make it a regular thing.
Right. I mean, we put everything else on the calendar. We're going to have to start doing that, too. And I was at an event, actually the book launch the other day in San Diego the other night, and there were several hundred people, and it was great. And one mother stood up and said that she already had bought Vitamin N, and it was already a beat-up copy. It was all marked up. She said she started marking it to look for things to do with her family and quit marking it because she was marking everything. Now, she says, her daughter, her little child, gets up in the morning. They've got an agreement. They can't do everything that day, but her daughter gets to pick one thing in the book, in Vitamin N, and they do it that day as a family.
Oh,
I think
That's a great idea.
I thought so too.
You know what I want to do the next time I'm with any children? I want to have them grow. I want to have them plant their socks.
Ooh, I missed that one.
Let me let Richard tell you about
Yes.
that. How do you plant your socks?
That's one of the many ways to you put seeds in the socks along with I can't think of the word, humus or compost. You tie the socks off and you plant them, or you put them out in the yard, and things grow. Now, this works particularly well if you use teenagers' socks, by the way.
That's right.
That's funny. It says have them walk between plants. The socks will pick up seeds that would have been hard to see with the naked eye. Then back at home, try to guess what kind of plants will grow when you plant the sock.
That's right.
Toe jam plants.
You had a lead-in book to this book, Last Child in the Woods, and it was compared to Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. So the first book you wrote was more palatable, I think, than Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, because you really talked to everybody on their own levels.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. It's hard to be compared to, to say your one is as good as Rachel Carson, but Last Child in the Woods did have an impact, and to my surprise, 10 years ago. That was followed by a book called The Nature Principle, which is also about what I called nature deficit disorder, but that one was for adults. So this third book, Vitamin N, is a handbook, a companion handbook for those other two books. It stands by itself. You don't have to get the other two books, but it is 500 ways that your family and your community can connect to nature.
And you have wonderful essays in this book, and I love reading that.
Yeah. No.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Do you know, I want to tell you a quick story, if you don't mind. My parents lived next door to a man, and he told me this story, that he lived in Albuquerque, and he wanted to hunt with a bow and arrow. He always wanted to do that. So, and his wife didn't want him to do that, So, she didn't want him killing any animals, is what it was, even though they ate meat. But, but anyway, so he went into the mountains, I guess, around Albuquerque with a bow and arrow. And the first year he didn't get anything. The second year he didn't get anything. The third year he finally got a deer, and he made his wife a promise that as soon as I get one, then I'll get it out of my system and I won't do it anymore. But after having done it for 3 years, it really bit him. He really loved the whole process of getting out into nature, but it wasn't about the bow and arrow. So he decided he would go back, and from this point forward, use a camera, not a bow and arrow. And he showed me. This was back in the days of carousel projectors. Remember those Kodak?
Yeah.
He showed
Slide
me
projectors.
a room full of these boxes with slides he had taken over the course of the years, because he fell in love with being out there. And it was just such a wonderful thing to think about, just going out with a camera and enjoying nature and maybe bringing it home to share with whoever's at home.
That's true. I mean, I like to fish, but increasingly I take my digital camera and I go on hikes instead. And, it's a lot easier to send your friends a photograph when you get back than it is to send them a fish.
Yeah, right. They appreciate it better, too, by the way.
But there's you can send them a fish and a seed sock.
That's
There is a section in Vitamin N called the High-Tech, High-Nature Family, and I'm not anti-tech, but I do believe that the more high-tech our lives become, the more we need nature. It's a question of balance, and so there's all kinds of ideas in that section about how to really combine technology with the experience, or at least do it before the experience, then do it afterwards.
Yeah, today, I mentioned this earlier, today is National Audubon Day. I did not make that up. And so I don't know if you realize that, but you got an award from the Audubon Society, right?
I did. I'm very, very pleased by that.
So was that, and that's, forgive me for not knowing everything about the Audubon Society, but wasn't that about the birds? So what did you do? How did you win the medal?
It was because of Last Child in the Woods.
Oh, okay.
And it, and what followed Last Child in the Woods really, it was out there anyhow, but Last Child proved to be a very good tool for a movement that is out there all over the country and now around the world, too, to connect people to nature. I've spent time speaking recently in China and Denmark and other countries. I'm heading for Brazil. There really is a movement out there for not only parents, but adults and mayors. We're involved with the National League of Cities. There are 19,000 mayors to help them connect people to nature. So that movement is out there, and individual parents, teachers are part of it, and so are radio hosts.
See that?
Do you know what you would?
We love that.
You would love my neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood where people live and let live. There are. I'm telling you the truth. There are peacocks in my neighborhood. They're wild peacocks, and nobody messes with them. They just kind of walk around, have kind of free roam of the. There are cats in my neighborhood. They leave the peacocks alone too. I don't know why. And I have a.
They're afraid of them.
Armadillo who I've named Casper because at first I thought I had a ghost, and then I saw what he was, and he just lives in the neighborhood, and nobody bothers with him, and. I mean, it seems like you've got that same kind of approach. Just live and let live and enjoy it all.
Yeah, and I actually think that cities can become engines of biodiversity, that we can have a lot more nature in our cities. Now, we have to be careful about that. We don't feed the animals because that gets them, aggressive animals, it gets them too used to human beings. So there are some rules to that, but we really can change our yards into native species. That's one of the ideas in Vitamin N. We can create a homegrown national park out of yards, out of our private land. By planting native species, you feed the food chain, you bring back and I'm looking at my own backyard right now, which we asked a young woman who knows about these things to help us find native plants, and we redid the yard, and I can tell you it's a lot prettier than it used to be when it was Kentucky bluegrass, and it's attracting native California butterflies I've never seen before. I didn't know there were native bees in California.
Oh, wow.
And the best thing is I'll never have to mow again. So
that's wonderful.
That is good.
Yeah. And it doesn't use much water. So, there are lots of ideas about this isn't just about Yosemite. It's about nearby nature. It's in our yards. It's in our neighborhoods. And so there's a lot in Vitamin N about that.
And you have such cool things in there. I mean, I love the thing about grow a radish inside a balloon.
That's right.
That was awesome.
Oh, thanks. That's the second time I've been asked in an interview about that, and that requires that I remember how to do that. There are 500 things in this book.
But you use the balloon as a greenhouse, and who would have thought that? I mean, I use it for water balloons, but you are such an insightful and creative person.
Oh, well, thanks. There are also a lot of other books on this, and I cite them throughout Vitamin N and recommend a whole long list of other books that people can refer to and get even more ideas. And also, we're not done yet. I mean, I'm the Children in Nature Network is the nonprofit that grew out of Last Child in the Woods. And we're going to start something called the Vitamin N Challenge, where people use the book to change their lives, we hope, and then report back to us what they've done. And there's a website now, a web page, vitaminNfornature.com.
Okay.
And right now that tells you how to buy the book, and there's also a place where you can contribute your own ideas. Pretty soon we'll move that to the Children in Nature Network website, and it'll be really a much bigger thing, a part of a national challenge to get some vitamin N.
Oh, that is awesome. Collect fireflies at dusk, release them later at that night. I like the different ideas in the book. Rob and I were bicycling at one time, and we stopped. It was kind of tiring because we went more than we were really ready for. But anyway, we sat on this slope next to we have bicycle trails here in Florida. I don't know if you got this in California. That used to be railroad beds, and they've taken up the railroad tracks and put down like 10-foot wide pavement, maybe. I don't know how wide it is exactly, but it's really peaceful out there. And on the edge of the embankment, we sat and took a break, and it was so beautiful. I mean, we were sitting in the grass, and I said, we could have won the lottery yesterday and lost it, and this would still be beautiful.
Yes, for sure.
It's a crazy thing to say, but
that's a great story, and that it illustrates one of the things in Vitamin N is about the power of nature experiences for family bonding. I mean, that bond you have with your son is a lot stronger because you do those kind of things. And by the way, you started out by saying about the camping. I can't tell you how many parents have told me that their grown children will come back home from college or wherever, and they'll sit around the kitchen table, and the grown children will start talking about that awesome camping trip they took when they were kids. And the parents want to strangle them because at the time the kids were whining and complaining and making the parents feel like they were torturing them.
Oh no.
But I hear this a lot, and what the parents often say is that they really are glad they did it, because later the kid doesn't come home and talk about that awesome day they watched television all day or played video games. They talk about that day they went camping with the parents and the whole family.
Oh,
and
wow.
So one of the things about Vitamin N, about this book, is this is not only about improving our health and our physical health, our psychological health, our ability to learn and create. It's also about creating memories, and every family needs to do that. And right now we have a kind of virtual memory, unfortunately, for many of us, that we're replacing real memories with digital ones. And again, I'm not anti-tech, but doing the things in this book, I think the most important thing they do is create memories.
I love
good
that.
Memories.
I love that. We actually have a program here. I know we only have a minute left, but we actually have a program here in our area for juvenile delinquents that didn't commit anything really heinous, and they'll send them to a camp for rehabilitation rather than punishing them. Well, it's not punishment, but it's just a kind of a way to get out into nature. They canoe, they build their own little shelters. I think they have tents actually, but that's how and it's very successful. They come out of this and they're kind of straightened out, and they got some camaraderie with somebody else that they never knew before. And Vitamin N is the book. I have a copy of the book. Call me if you want the one that was sent to us. Richard Louv spells his last name Louv. And before we say goodbye, I know you got 30 seconds. The website, Richard?
VitaminNfornature.com.
VitaminNfornature.com.
It's all spelled out.
Richard Louv, thank you so much for being on the air with us, and thank you for getting up early out in San Diego.
Oh, well, thanks. This was fun.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, we will take a little break, and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. This Tuesday, partly sunny with highs ranging from 81 at the coast to 89 inland. Clear Tuesday night, low 64 inland, about 70 along the coast. For Wednesday, partly sunny with a shower or thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, but mainly dry along the coast. A high 83 at the coast, 89 inland. Thursday, partly sunny and very warm, high 85 at the coast, up to 92 inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We're saving thousands with Robert Palmer.
So rule number one is always shop around. Always shop around. If you're trying to get a mortgage, if you're trying to get the best credit card, if you're looking at student loans, cell phone bills, you name it, rule number one is always shop around. Always shop around.
That's rule number one, just one more vital part of fighting back to stop being a financial zombie. Yes, you can take the mystery out of the complicated world of finances. Take charge when it comes to your money. Listen in on The Source, 96.3 FM and 1370 AM, Saturdays at 12:05.
Hey, I'm Gary.
And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new truck.
Yep, we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Now, here's another bonus of having older children are more likely to engage in active play, basically built-in playmate. So-called frontier living is back in style, and subscriptions to the association's magazine called Tomahawk and Long Rifle have been increasing every quarter. What millennials like about geezers is their geezery authenticity.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
All right, 28 minutes after 11 o'clock, beautiful Tuesday. There is another opportunity for you to audition for Ocala's Got Talent. I wanted to squeeze this in while I had a moment here. Ocala's Got Talent is a fundraiser for the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch, and the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch is an orphanage, for lack of a better way to describe it. But even Dr. John Sweet, who is a pastor over at the Youth Ranch, he was in here yesterday, and he was okay with describing it as an orphanage. The children there are anywhere from infants up to 18, I think.
Yes.
And for one reason or another, and always through no fault of their own, they have no parents.
Right.
They have no parents. And I guess once in a while there are some circumstances at home where they have parents, but the circumstances are so bad that they try to remedy whatever the problem is. So some of those children, it sounded like very few, end up going back home. But anyway, in the meantime, the Heart of Florida Youth Ranch takes care of these children. They have normal lives. They go to public schools and private schools, or whatever schools they want to go to. I guess that's how they work that. I don't know. Maybe not private schools. But anyway,
They're
they go
homeschooled.
But they go to school. They don't
that.
stay there on the ranch 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, they go to public schools. He's stressed.
Anyway, so the $25 fee to audition is what that goes to. Okay, that's the nuts and bolts. That's the business end of this. And thank you for helping out if you can. Joe Martone has been unbelievably supportive of this thing. Joe, as you know, is one of the owners of WOCA. He embraced this because of his love for kids and for humanity. He's got a granddaughter. He's just adores that. He loves all his grandchildren, but
Yes.
this one particular is autistic.
Yes.
And Joe's the MC over at the event. So anyway, there's one more opportunity to audition. You could win $1,000, $500, $250. Those are the first 3 prizes. The next and last audition is this Saturday, 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Call Stormy at 595-7100 and get the details.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. 5 candidates, 5 states. Today's batch of Democratic and Republican presidential primaries. Donald Trump again calling the alliance strategy by GOP rivals Ted Cruz and John Kasich to defeat him weak.
Trump also had words for Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton, telling Fox News she's using the woman card.
I'd love to see a woman president, but she's the wrong person. She's a disaster.
Both Trump and Clinton expected to do well in today's voting.
Fox Radio's Tanya J. Powers. Warnings of severe weather in parts of Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma.
Severe storms, tornadoes, damaging wind, and large hail are all possible.
Roger Edwards of the National Weather Service. It was 30 years ago today. A service in Kiev, Ukraine, remembering the worst nuclear disaster in history at Chernobyl. 31 died in the accident. The long-term effects of radiation are still being evaluated. Fox News. We report, you decide.
A Napa guy knows the good thing about an old truck is you can treat it like an old truck, meaning however you want. Because the paint job looks best covered in mud. Dents build character, and unpaved roads are unscientifically proven to be 70% more fun. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep that thing running longer, stronger. Because it's not old, it's broken in. That's Napa know-how.
Life can be unpredictable. That's why you should take control of your family's future now with an estate plan bundle from LegalZoom. Not sure whether you need a last will or a living trust? LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys in 48 states can help you decide which one's right for you without billing by the hour, since LegalZoom isn't a law firm. Plus, updating your estate plan as your family and assets grow couldn't be easier. Enjoy your life. Use LegalZoom for the legal stuff. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
This Mother's Day, join us for Pokin' for the Pee-wees. Saturday, May 7th, 11 to 2. Food, prizes, petting zoo, pictures with Disney princesses and superheroes, bounce houses, games, live music, and more. See you at Beautiful Moments Party Rental just south of the airport on 60th Avenue. Limited vendor space available. Call me, Dr. Erica Olstein, with A Better You Healthcare at 352-615-5566. 615-5566.
Keep up with what's going on in the downtown area with Ocala Downtown Newspaper. Delivering thousands of newspapers to businesses in the downtown area, Ocala Downtown is there to keep you informed. They even have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask in return is that you tell them where you heard about it. It's simple. For more info, just call Tom's Picks, 352-804-1223, and pick up your copy of the Downtown Ocala newspaper today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Here are today's headlines from The Source, WOCA. A husband and wife accused of being involved in about 60 burglaries and dubbed the pillowcase burglars might be linked to a homicide case, investigators say. 41-year-old Darren Decker and 44-year-old Jessica Baker stole guns, jewelry, and small electronics, according to detectives from several Florida agencies, including the Marion County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. They were called the pillowcase burglars because investigators say they used pillowcases from victims' homes to carry stolen property. Other agencies involved in the arrests include the Alachua, Levy, and Citrus County Sheriff's Office, plus the Williston Police Department. Detectives are looking into a possible connection from the couple to the death of Tamara Biedenboff in Marion County in January. For now, Decker and Baker face grand theft and burglary charges. Governor Rick Scott is headed for California next week to try to steal some business, but first he's taking to the airwaves. Enterprise Florida is running an ad on TV and radio stations in San Francisco and Los Angeles before Scott arrives. The ad entices California businesses to come to Florida, where the taxes and the pay scales are lower. The ad predicts massive job losses in California because of an increase in the minimum wage and invites business to come to Florida, where the minimum wage is a lot lower. Enterprise Florida is the state's economic development agency. As the Obama administration reportedly prepared to declassify 28 pages of a congressional inquiry into the September 11th, 2001 terror attacks that purportedly show that Saudi Arabia provided support to those responsible for the attacks, both former and current Florida U.S. senators are paying close attention. Former Senator Bob Graham has long been an advocate of declassifying the documents. He has frequently petitioned for the release of the information, which has been kept under wraps since a commission investigating the terror attacks first compiled it. Current Senator Bill Nelson, who is a former member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is also interested in the 28 pages of information. Nelson, like Graham, has read the 28 pages in question, but on Monday, Nelson called on President Obama to also classify intelligence report that he says debunk those 28 pages. Nelson, in a letter to the president, wrote, quote, "If you declassify these 28 pages, I strongly urge you to also declassify intelligence reports that debunk them in order to provide the American people with a complete picture of this issue," unquote. April is National Distracted Driving Awareness Month. With that in mind, safety authorities, along with the Florida Department of Transportation, are reminding drivers to slow down, move over. The law requires passing motorists to give adequate space to law enforcement, tow truck drivers, utility service vehicles, and other first responders that are stopped on the side of the road. According to the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, in 2015, there were 161 crashes and 130 injuries reported as a result of a motorist failing to move over. More than 20,300 citations were issued. Officials say those numbers further indicate the importance of the move over law. Safety officials are advocating awareness of the law and the employment of some simple safety tips. Watch for situations where emergency vehicles, tow vehicles, sanitation, and utility service vehicles are pulled off the side of the road, and always slow down when approaching an emergency vehicle parked with the lights flashing, regardless of the direction of your approach. Officials add that if you stay alert and exercise common courtesy, you'll go a long way toward making things safer for everybody on the road. And those are the headlines from The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM,